Frankly, I think that a kid who grows up in a house where mommy and daddy are perfect, they're getting a pretty distorted view of what marriage is really like.
I just never learned how to argue and then come to a compromise and a resolution. I just knew how to argue.
Remember when so-and-so did blah, 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 and everybody ended up in the pool and then we all got smashed and it was really fun.
Cursing and violent
it wasn't fairy tale.
Hi everybody, Asha Dornfest from Parent Hacks. So it was a rough weekend around here, and I'm not proud to say this, but I was in a terrible mood, and it contributed to more than one petty bickering session with my husband. One of which was completely witnessed by my daughter, who was sitting next to me the whole time. Nice. Now, I know that the popular wisdom is that you should never fight in front of your kids, but you know, it's occurring to me that all three of us actually learned something from the resolution. She got to see us working it out and actually laughing about it a little bit later and realizing how silly it was. And I'm starting to feel like it's not necessarily a good thing if all the kids ever see are mommy and daddy speaking very reasonably and always working things out like adults. You know, it seems to me like conflict resolution is something you gotta learn, probably best learned at home. And if you never see anyone getting angry with each other, how are you going to know how to deal with it when you grow up? So, I don't know, what do you think? I think barring cursing and violent behavior, do you think that arguing with your spouse is something you should do in the bathroom while whispering, or is it something you should do in front of your kids as long as the kids are part of the resolution?
Asha, I agree with you 1000% that kids need to learn something about every aspect of marriage, including the good and the bad and the temporarily completely ugly. Your point about somebody who grows up in a household never seeing their parents argue definitely resonates with me. I think it puts them at a tremendous disadvantage because not fighting fair kind of undermines every other piece of the marriage, of the family, of the trust the children have in you and in each other. And if they see you doing it, you know, in an underhanded way, or your spouse doing it in an underhanded way, they're gonna A, be wary of you, B, be wary of them, C, worry about the marriage, and D, do it later themselves. And this is not the kind of behavior you want to model.
If you don't care about how your actions impact your kids, then the outcome is always going to be bad. I am a product of divorced parents, and my dad has been married not one, not two, not three, but 4 times. And as kids, I think all of us have been, my brother, sister, and I have been the brunt of hearing some really nasty arguments. And as an adult, you know, when I had my own kid, I was really reticent to even have, you know, any sort of squabble with my partners over time.
I can't say I'm innocent here. Obviously, I'm divorced. But I think we did a good job because I know that they say now, why did you get divorced? Because you guys always got along. I never heard you fight. So I feel like we did something good there, but they know how to argue constructively.
The other interesting thing is that as a child, witnessing your parents argue, it's such a different thing than when you're an adult and you're a part of an argument. I mean, your perspective on it is so completely different. I mean, I think that we forget sometimes how we really are our children's world. My parents argued. They did. They argued. They're from very different backgrounds, extremely different personalities. And so I witnessed plenty of arguments, but certainly not the kind of heartbreaking arguments that, you know, eroded my faith in, you know, the stability of my family. It just was sort of a part of everyday life that, you know, somebody was going to lose their temper, someone was going to, you know, get upset about something, and it always seemed to work out fine.
My parents argued and argued and argued, and there was no resolution. And so as an adult, or, you know, as a teen, you know, experiencing my first relationships, I always thought that arguments meant the end. You know, if you started arguing with your spouse, or well, with my boyfriend, then the end was soon to come. And it was a self-fulfilling prophecy because, you know, I just never learned how to argue and then come to a compromise and a resolution. I just knew how to argue.
I will not tolerate name calling in our family. So I don't care what you call the other person. You don't call anybody anything, anybody in anger. You don't lift a hand in anger. You don't lift a foot in anger. And you don't lift a meat cleaver in anger. You know, if I don't do those things, hopefully I can show them at least that I can take a moral high ground.
While it's impossible to fight fair and perfectly honorably every single time, because come on, I mean, it's the heat of the moment. Sometimes we just, you know, anger and emotion gets the better of you sometimes. But even when those times happen, I try to step back at some point with my kids and explain to them what's going on. You know, within reason. I talk to them about how, you know, every family has arguments sometimes, and just because we argue with each other and we get mad at each other never means that we don't love each other.
Join the Momversation at momversation.com.